In this video, we're going to model out this topologically correct human biped doll mesh body. Having an asset like this will serve as a shortcut for any future characters that you want to create. You can just scale down these proportions to whatever silhouette that you may want. So let's examine our body real quick and see what we're trying to create here. As you can see, all the edge flow is nice and organic. We are in sub D mode for demonstration purposes right now. We have extra faces on our knees so we can retain the mass of this bony form. Nice edge spans right here so the polygons can collapse upon one another whenever we bend up our knee. We have the same kind of setup for our elbows to retain that bony shape. We have plenty of faces in our hand. This is one of the most articulate parts of the human body, so we got to treat it with a little bit more care. And we have a nice edge flow for our shoulders and our chest. And overall, we have a nice relaxed pose so that any kind of deformation in any extreme from any body part, say the arm moved up here or collapsed down to the thigh, we're already in a nice neutral point. So our character is going to look great when it deforms and animates in any kind of future that we use for this. All right, why don't we just see how we can get started? So I'm going to go ahead and set my Maya project to a doll mesh Maya project that I have on my desktop. I've unzipped the chapter download and I'm going to set it. And now when I open up scenes, it's going to direct me to my Maya project that we just set. And I'm going to open up my doll mesh anatomy reference. What kind of reference are we going to use? We're going to use a skeleton. I went ahead and posed this guy in the same relaxed pose that we saw before. And it'll serve as a great reference point for the proportion and scale of our body and all of our limbs. We're going to start out by creating the torso cape. It's basically just that bit of deformation and topology you saw earlier that gives us a nice edge flow for the top of our torso here. And we're going to do this by starting out with a weird shape here. We're going to create a cylinder with 16 axis divisions. We're going to rotate it and scale it up. And we're going to try to position it right at our neck. It's going to kind of serve as the starting point for our neck. All right, we'll just move this into place. Try to get it right where you think the neck hole may be. Perfect. Okay, and from here, we're going to select, why don't I go ahead and hide my human reference. And before we select something, we're going to go up to symmetry up here, and we're going to turn it to object X. That way, whatever we do on one side of the mesh will be copied to the other. We're going to select these bottom faces right here, the bottom half faces, and we're just going to extrude them out. And then make one more extrusion all the way to cover up the scapula here in the back. And what we're going to do next is we're going to delete out all these triangles and any face on the top so we get this nice neck hole. Why don't we go ahead and scale it out a little bit so we can capture our form a little bit more. And I'm going to insert an edge loop right here at the top. So your cape should look like this one. I'm noticing that this edge loop right here is not exactly centered, so we're going to double click it and we're going to hold down shift and right click to our slide edge tool and use our middle mouse button to kind of position that more in the middle here. All right, perfect. Next, we're going to create our arms and our abdomen. So with symmetry X, object X still turned on, we're going to extrude these faces here. I want to make them a little bit bigger and position them up maybe. Try to capture the same form for what this arm could be. As you can see, now I'm going to extrude my faces. Okay. And I'm going to extrude again for my wrist. Now I'm going to go to my top view. Let's make sure everything looks good from behind. We're going to go to my top view now, and we're going to position these verts to the elbow. We'll do a little bit of a rotate there. And finally, this to our wrist, another rotate, and why don't we scale in these faces? Oh, it looks like we need to adjust their height a little bit. Rotate it so that we have a nice ring of faces. Notice how they all kind of flow nicely into one another. So a little bit of tweaking and refining. And we're going to select our vertices here. And we need to scale them, but you'll notice that it's got a weird scale going on. So we're going to go and click. And actually, you know what? We're going to hold down the D key. And this will bring up my pivot mode. I'm going to change my pivot for these vertices so it more closely aligns with the direction we need to scale them in. Perfect. Let's do the same thing here. Let's hold down D and kind of rotate it, pointing down to that. Oh, let's try that again. What's going on here? There we go. So we're just trying to match our shapes as much as possible right now. It's a very blocky, very basic shape here. And I'm just trying to make sure they're rotated, and we're trying to do a nice flow of geometry here. All right, perfect. So we got our arms made. Next, let's select these bottom faces right here, these bottom 8 faces. Leave these 2 alone. This is basically going to be our armpit. Make sure we don't have any other faces selected. And we're just going to extrude this down like so. And this is going to be our abdomen. And now we've blocked out our basic torso and arms.